Well, hello, everybody. Welcome in once again to another Get to Know the Royals right here on the Queen Sports Network. As always, I'm Mike Glennon, and today we're joined by head cross-country coach and assistant track and field coach, Mr. Tom Scott. And, Coach, thanks so much for being here and carving some time out of what I know is probably a busy preseason schedule for you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. We've got less than a month before everybody comes back to campus, and can't wait to get everybody back and finally be back to running cross country, because last year we didn't have it. So we're excited.
Well, it's funny. I talked to some of your seniors last year about that very thing. And I know one of the biggest things that they always love about coming to campus early is you guys have that little retreat that you go on, kind of that team building time. And so, how crucial is that as you guys start to gear up towards this next season of getting that back into play as well? And, of course, getting the team together early.
Yeah. So one of the most important things in a team sport like cross country or basketball or any team sport is the relationships that everybody has on the team, the camaraderie. You're working for something bigger than yourself. You're working for the team, right? So we always try to have do a team camp. So this year we're going out to we've got a cabin on Beach Mountain, and
Nice.
so we'll be staying there for 4 days before the school semester starts, just to get a little training in and team bonding. We're going to spend some time in Boone hanging out, so it'll be fun. It's a good opportunity for the freshmen to get to know the upperclassmen get to meet the freshmen, and
Sure.
coaches can kind of catch up on how everybody's summers went. So it's fun.
It's not a bad place to be late August into the early part of the fall either. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. A little bit of altitude training too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and goodness knows. I mean, it's funny moving out here from Colorado. It is a whole new ball game running at altitude. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
let's talk about your running days back in college. And of course, you graduated from Ashland as a 3-time All-American, twice in the 800 meter, and then once in the 4x400 relay. What drew you to running growing up, and what has made that a part of your life? Obviously, now through today as a head coach.
Yeah, so I started running when I was young because my dad had gotten into running.
Okay.
So my dad, he didn't get into running until he was maybe like 30, 31, and he would go to the local 5K races, and he would bring me with. I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and he'd have me run the fun run with him, and then I'd watch him run the 5K, and
Sure.
then when I got a little bit older, he started letting me run the 5Ks as well. So that's how I got into it.
Awesome.
I played other sports in high school, and then my junior year, I decided like running was my thing. Running was my passion. So that's how I got into it. I got into coaching because when I graduated from Ashland, I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do with my life. I originally wanted to do something in the medical field, but running was my passion. And so I had some meetings with my head coach, and he's like, well, Tom, what is one thing that you really want to do for the rest of your life? And I told him I want to run. And he kind of laughed, and he said, well, Tom, you can't do that for a living. You can run for the rest of your life if you want, but that you won't, or you're not going to make any money doing that.
Sure.
So he's like, you should think about going into coaching, because that's one way you could stay in the sport and continue to do what you love. So
Sure.
that's where I'm at now.
Well, hey, let me ask you this. Obviously, running, kind of that weird sport. I don't want to say weird, but, it's a very individual sport. But, of course, at the collegiate level, you're on a team. And even,
Yep.
in high school, you're on a team as well. So how do you balance that going between a team atmosphere to when you're on the course, you're locked in and dialed in on your own trying to get to that goal that you've set for yourself?
Yeah, it's there's definitely a balance there, right? So as much as it is a team sport, we still have to tweak the training for each individual, right? So I've got kids on the team that are running 85 to 90 miles a week because that's what works for them, and they succeed doing that. And I've got kids on the team that are only running 30 to 40 miles a week. And so we have to kind of tweak those training plans a little bit, because everybody's different from a training standpoint and what makes them work. But at the end of the day, we're still competing for Queens, and we're competing for each other. So there's definitely a balance there. And it's not always easy to find that right balance.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, no matter what that balance is for the specific athlete, I know it has to be big knowing that they have their brothers and sisters kind of behind them in terms of, rooting them on. And I know that's a big thing in speaking to some of the cross country and track and field folk is how special they feel during races when, you know, they hear their teammates cheering them on, ones that may not be racing or whatever the case may be. But just to have that, I have to imagine, is such a big boost for you guys out there on the course.
Yeah, yeah. So when we race in cross country, I really try to emphasize what's called pack running. And so we're at least for the first part of the race, first half of the race, we're running as a group.
Sure.
And I think you just feel more comfortable when you're with your teammates in races. It's not as stressful. It feels more like practice because you run with these people every day. So we really try to pack run at least for the first half or so of the race. I think we have a lot of success doing that. When I was in college, we had success doing that. And so we really try to do that as well and just find success that way.
Well, you know, let's talk about kind of your success that you found in coaching. And obviously, after graduation, you were kind of figuring out what you wanted to do. You talked to your coach, had a conversation, and then ended up at Michigan Technological University, where you had the chance to be an assistant for a couple of years. And then you got the unique chance to lead your alma mater in Ashland. Can you talk about those early years of coaching, and then, of course, kind of what it felt to be back at your alma mater and being at the helm of things after racing for so long there?
Yeah. It was a dream come true. I couldn't believe, I still remember when I got that phone call from the head coach there, Judd Logan. He's the head track and field coach. It was on St. Patrick's Day, and he actually missed the call, and he left me a voicemail, and he said, hey, give me a call back. And so I called him up, and I couldn't believe it. But working at Ashland was amazing. We had some very, very talented runners there. At one point, our women's cross country team was ranked, I think, top 15 in the country. And then on the guys' side, I was able to be a part of two teams on the track and field side of thing that finished second at the NCAA championships. And so it was a lot of fun learning from one of the best teams in the country, not only as an athlete, but also as a coach. So that was a lot of fun.
And I have to imagine seeing that kind of success so early on in your coaching career had to give you a boost and at least a little more confidence in terms of kind of taking over programs as you've moved along so far here in your career.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely helps get me to where I'm at now, for sure. If it wasn't for having those opportunities at Michigan Tech and at Ashland University, I would not be here where I'm at now. And also I had a little stint down at Coker, which is they're in our conference. And if it wasn't for those opportunities, I definitely wouldn't be here at Queens where I'm at right now.
Well, I was gonna bring that up and say, well, you know, you got your start on the East Coast at least with another South Atlantic Conference school, and that, of course, being Coker. And you know, similar to your stint at Ashland and of course at Michigan Technological University. You had a lot of success in just the year that you were there. I mean, your coach, the first ever cross country All-American, did the same for indoor track and field, and then an NCAA Division II record holder in the women's 800 in the outdoor season. I guess my question to you is, how do you get those results? You know, what is it about your coaching style that you think these kids kind of respond to so well?
I think it's tough because you got to find out what I think the question or the answer to that question is trying to figure out what works for each athlete, right? And so it's different, and what motivates them, and what drives them. I think that's a huge component of it, because I've had athletes in the past where if you just talk about training or talk about, like, if that's all you talk about with them, they kind of shut down and turn off because it stresses them out. So I think that's a big thing. I've had the opportunity to take a lot of classes, learning from a lot of really amazing coaches. Joe Vigil, he's an Olympic coach. I used to coach at Adams State. I got to listen to him talk, and you know, learning from all the people who've done it before. I think that's super important. Asking questions, but yeah, I think in terms of the success that Slim had down at Coker, breaking the NCAA record holder. Or breaking the NCAA record. I think it helped that I was an 800-meter runner. Sure. So I kind of, and the way she ran races, I felt like she was a version of me, so to speak. So I think that helped a lot with her training. So that definitely helped. And she was just also very motivated, very, very talented, very motivated, wanted to be the best that she could be. And so
That definitely helps.
when you have an athlete that like that, it makes it super easy as a coach.
Sure.
You give them the training plan and they're like, yep, I got it. No worries. So
I like that. Well, and obviously you've had the fortune of working with a lot of those athletes here at Queens as well. And let's talk about that. You wound up right here in Charlotte at Queens, and of course saw similar success right out of the gate as a cross country head coach. Men's and women's winning the SAC championships, and then went on to win the Southeast regional titles as well. I know you got up to number 6 for the men's side, and then 24th for the women's. You were the SAC coach of the year. What did that season mean to you coming to this area? And the other question is, how'd you end up at Queens?
Yeah, so well, I've met Coach Camp, I think, at the indoor NCAA championships when I was down at Coker, and I knew that Queens had a pretty good distance program. So I made sure to introduce myself to Coach Camp just in case he ever needed a distance coach. So I did a little bit of networking beforehand, and then
you have to,
and then you have to have the success to back it up. But so after that season, after I think it was like 3 days after Slim won the NCAA championship, I got a phone call from Jim, and he was like, "Hey, you want to come to Queens?" So that's how that happened.
Nice.
I was extremely excited, and then yeah, coming in, I was very fortunate. I inherited a good group of guys and girls. They had already won the SAC championships and had success at nationals. So it was kind of my job to just continue to steer the ship straight and to steer the ship forward. And so, yeah, that was an amazing season, both on the cross country side of things, learning a lot. In the past, I had never had really a group of guys and girls that were that talented from front to back. I had usually been at programs where we had 2 or 3 girls that were very talented, 2 or 3 guys that are very talented, but that group was talented from front to back. And so I learned a lot coaching the entire team aspect of it, and like what it takes to get a team to nationals as opposed to an individual to nationals. So that was very special to me. And moving into the indoor season, that was also a very special season with Felix and Danny going 1-2 and at the NCAA championships in the mile. And but yeah, that'll be probably one of my most favorite years. I mean, I'll probably have some better ones in the future, but that one is special.
Well, and obviously you guys are looking forward to this year, and that's going to be a special year as well, coming off of a non-year, if you will, in terms of cross country anyway. You were able to kind of have a little bit of the indoor track season, then, of course, into the outdoor season. Saw all sorts of success back in the spring, sweeping the SAC championships. What did you see from your team? And then now, you got a similar squad going into this year. What stood out to you about this past year's team and really impressed you on kind of the young men and women that you've had for this program?
Yeah, I mean, it beat expectations by a ton. I couldn't believe the amount of success that we had as a track and field program and as a distance program this indoor and outdoor season, especially for not being here in the fall. Yeah. Like, we were the only team in our conference that we weren't in school in the fall. And so all of those student athletes were responsible for getting all their training in on their own during the fall. We didn't have practices or anything like that. So I think that says a lot about the character of our team and who we are as a program and the culture that we have, and just the determination and the dedication that each one of those student athletes have. I think that's probably is the thing that stands out the most to me. And they backed it up with I think if you look at the number of All-Americans we had indoors and outdoors, it probably beats a team record. Our women had the best team finish I think they've ever had outdoors. They were ninth at the NCAA national championships. So just a dedicated, amazing group.
Well, and that's one thing that's been so impressive to me, and not to take anything away from other schools around the country, but, with the amount of international students that Queens has and all the different scenarios and all different walks of life, just the dedication. I know you mentioned that dedication, that heart of wanting to come out and compete and just having a chance. And man, when they got a chance, they did a lot with it.
Yeah, yeah, I think there was a lot of pent up energy there for not having, a lot of those kids were at the indoor NCAA championships in 2020, and we got there on a Thursday. We did our pre-meet. The meet was supposed to start on Friday, and Thursday evening, the day before the NCAA championships was supposed to start, they canceled everything. So I think those kids had a chip on their shoulder, and they had something to prove. And I think we all learned too that don't take anything for granted. Opportunities, you may not ever have another opportunity like the one that you're in right now. So taking advantage of that is very, very important.
Absolutely. And, obviously took advantage of that and then some this season. And, now looking ahead as a kind of a sneak peek, I should say, into this season coming up this fall for cross country. Of course, good news is we'll be able to broadcast the Royals Challenge. Very excited for that, to have you guys on a broadcast now that, we can actually do something like that with the COVID restrictions starting to ease up a bit.
Yeah.
But, looking at this season, what are you most excited for about as a coach and just as a member of this Queens community?
Yeah, I'm excited just to have the whole team back for cross country. That's going to be exciting. I'm excited to go to camp. I think that we've got such an amazing group of incoming as well as well as returning. So we've got 9 incoming athletes, five girls, 4 guys, and they're all extremely talented.
Awesome.
They fit the culture that we have here at Queens. They're here for the right reasons. And so I'm excited to start working with them and watching them develop and grow. And then, our upperclassmen, we've got an amazing group, a very experienced group. Jan Lucas, who just about entered the top 10 in the NCAA in the 5K indoors, multi-time All-American. Eric Sanchez, who's now a senior and has been has NCAA experience, and so it's going to be a fun group. I mean, on the women's side, we bring back Stevie Lawrence, who just got 6 at the NCAA championships.
Yep.
Madison Webster, who's now a junior and upperclassman and had a fantastic outdoor season. So there's a lot of talent there, and I'm excited to actually see them. It's been 2 years since we've had cross country, so I'm excited to see them go out there and compete. And I think we can be a top 10 team at the NCAAs on both the men's and women's side. So that'll be the goal moving forward.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, again, you guys have stuck it out for long enough, and it's now right around the corner. So I know you guys are chomping at the bit to get back out there. Coach, I appreciate you taking some time out and joining us. Obviously, best of luck. We'll check in with you coming up for that Royals Challenge that's coming up, I believe, October the 8th. Am I correct?
Yep, October 8th.
Awesome.
That's the Royals Challenge. Then we got conference 2 weeks after that. So
all right. Well, hey, we'll catch you guys at end of season form then. I like that. So, like I say, I'm excited to do that, but of course, excited to see what this team and you're able to do with the not just the 9 incoming, but of course, with the folks that have kind of proven themselves already at the national level, just trying to increase on that here over their final couple years. So, appreciate you joining us, and of course, we'll be checking in with you throughout the season.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. All right, that'll do it for another Get to Know the Royals right here on the YouTube page for the Queen Sports Network. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. You get all the newest content right here from the Queen Sports Network each and every time something goes out. Of course, you can follow us as well on queensathletics.com. For head coach Tom Scott, I'm Mike Glennon, and as always, go Royals.